It's a great pleasure to be here. It's always exciting to be in Poland. I was invited actually for two bigger events. Over here I was speaking at Asbiro University yesterday, and now I've got a pleasure to introduce our small country here. And I'm also so grateful that we've got so many supporters here. I think in Poland alone we've got 6,500 people that applied for citizenship of Liberland, which is a nice number, right, if you consider that we are kind of a new country. And I don't think that, for example, Monaco or even places like, I don't know, Moldova maybe doesn't have that big diaspora in places like Poland. So Liberland was started between Croatia and Serbia on a plot of land which is 7 square kilometers, almost exactly, or as you can see, 2.7 square miles. It was a very special moment 2.5 years ago. It was enormously well covered by the world media. I think a part of Forbes, every single bigger media informed about the creation. And that was it, right? We came there with just a couple of guys. We stick the flag to the territory. We proclaimed the creation of a new country. And you say, how is that possible? And I can tell you there are some criteria that you have to fulfill in order to build a country. Those criteria are actually described by Montevideo Convention. And that Montevideo Convention tells you that you have to have population, defined territory, government, and to have a capacity to enter into relation with other countries or with other states. And if you open, if you Google a little bit for this, you will find that Michigan Journal of International Law and Chicago Journal of International Law, which are completely neutral academic studies, have actually already argued for recognition of Liberland. So in a way, we are already fulfilling all these criteria. Today I don't want to talk too much about Liberland as a state. I wanted to give you a little bit more information about how we are going to utilize the blockchain technologies. But I want to give you also this brief introduction to what Liberland is and where it is right now after 2.5 years. We are growing pretty fast. We've got some 500,000 people interested in citizenship in general. It's growing in recent months the same way it was growing at the very beginning, which is very exciting. We've got some 150,000 people that we deem eligible for Liberland citizenship, which is already larger than some of the small states, of course. Monaco has only some 36,000 people living there. We have 150,000 people that we would like to accept out of that 500,000. We've got also very large business community, also almost 70,000 people signed up to start a company, and actually some of the people that already started are taking part of this beta version program of our Liberland company registry are here with us. So it is not easy to kick these things off, but it's already happening. And we all have a territory that is very well defined. We actually found a piece of land which was unclaimed by any country for more than 26 years, and that's why it's legally so interesting. That doesn't mean we don't have problems, of course. When you start a new country out of scratch, you always have some sort of issues. But the reality is that Serbia supported us right away after we started the country. Only 11 days, Serbia stated, and that's the letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they don't mind creation of Liberland that was started by Vit Jedlicka, and it was not formed on the territory of Republic of Serbia, despite the whole world, including Croatia, claiming this piece of land actually belongs to Serbia. So we kind of got this piece of land from Serbia in a way. And the Croatia is very stubborn in the fact that they don't claim this piece of land. There is not a single map of Croatia where you would see this piece of land to be part of Croatia. And of course, that thing is the most difficult when you're starting a new country, to find a piece of land that wouldn't be claimed by other country before. And we've got a government. We've got actually Bogi Wozniak with us, who is the vice president of Liberland. And by the way, you can probably hear that he is a Polish originally, but he lives in the United States, and he is helping me to get Liberland recognized globally. So it's great to have. That's you see how the Polish community is strong within Liberland. We've got Thomas Walls, who is our foreign minister, great guy. He's got lots of expertise in foreign affairs. He was actually one of the guys that worked under Halbrook administration as a diplomat under the Berlin Embassy of the United States. So it is a very good team that we've got on board. Jan Purkrabek, he's the finance minister. I'm very happy that we've got him on board. I'll tell you more about him a little later. And Danis Pirc worked for a number of governments. We also used to have Minister of Justice, but that's one of the reasons why I'm speaking here, is that more and more we are turning to blockchain technologies for different solution on a governmental level. So we found a great partner. It's called Kleros. They are making it possible for people to solve their disputes using blockchain technology, actually in a very, very smart way. I'm just wondering if that is somebody calling me. Oh yeah, that's my secretary calling me on Facebook, so that's why it makes... All right, let's see how many times she was going to call me on the computer. And that system, I just want to show you how it works in a very basic setup, and it can be actually used for a nation state as well. So there is some problem, somebody disagrees with somebody, and this platform allows to generate 3 random jurors. People that, of course, will have some reputation within the justice system of Liberland. And these 3 jurors in the first round that are experts in some field, whatever it is, this time e-commerce, they will make some decision. And that decision will be based on the evidence that is provided by the two different parties. Okay, she's going to probably call me a couple of times. Pěší napsat, ať mě to nevolá. Neboj, zavolej. Co? No. And so they make a decision, but in the next phase, when they make a decision, you can appeal to that decision, and that means that randomly selected 6 jurors will make a decision. And in next phase, randomly generated 12 jurors will make decision. So we are actually removing the whole system of courts in a traditional nation state and replacing it with a system of decentralized jurors. And I think that's something pretty exciting. We also have a new budgeting system, which if you're running any company on blockchain or you're using cryptocurrencies, might be interesting for you. It is a system developed by a guy that started Pirate Parties, Rick Falkinger. And this system allows you to not only use cryptocurrencies as a main currency in a company, but also do budgets with it. Do forecasting, do project management. And not only that, whoever knows Rick Falkinger here and read the book Swarm Ops? One? Not too many, but it's a very exciting book. It was written a couple of years ago and explains how important it is to use the power of the crowd, that you don't want to have like a hierarchy in your organization. You want to decentralize the decision making as much as you can. And this software actually allows you to also give the power to individuals or small group of individuals to make the decision on the lowest possible level and yet still use the centralized budget. So we're actually having an event in Paralelní Polis on Friday and Saturday. This system will be introduced there. And again, it's not just for governments like Liberland, but it's for any organization which decided to leave the world of banking and replace it with the world of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum and all these currencies that will be supported in that. And it's something that might of you really be missing. And we are launching also our own token, which will work as a system of sorting out, for example, the problems that people do in our jurisdiction. And I will tell you a little bit more about that. So we're focused on, of course, building Liberland statehood. And we want to merge some of the elements that you wouldn't believe that is possible to merge. The idea of Liberland was based on the fact that we believe that it's possible to do a voluntary taxation, to remove the force from a state, to remove the fact that it can go to you and tell you, now you have to pay 10%, 20%, 30% taxes, and replace it with some sort of a new system, a system which would work on a completely voluntary basis. And our token has 3 main things. So when you pay taxes, you will actually get this token back from the state. So you're not really paying taxes in a way. It's not just a voluntary tax. You're always buying a share in a Liberland. And with this share, you can do 3 things basically. You can vote with it. You will be able to get dividend out of the Liberland activities. But it will also work as your collateral in Liberland jurisdiction. So if by any chance you manage to do something bad to some other person in Liberland jurisdiction, those tokens that you basically locked aside will work as a collateral for your whatever bad behavior. And I think it's a very good solution, very smart solution, how to solve the problem of the fact that we've got these states that are rising the taxation and that we are actually able to finance the state in the long run through this incentive model. We're planning to issue at the beginning 700 million tokens, but only give away 10% of these tokens every single year. So the cool thing is that Liberland budget will never ever run out of these tokens. In 7 years or so, we will be having less than majority of these tokens, so that the taxpayers will make the decisions could possibly overvote the decision of the government. So we are going to decentralize this decision making in 7 or more years. And I think it's pretty cool because we are putting the government into the same position like taxpayers. So if you pay your taxes, you will also are going to be able to use only 10% of whatever you paid in taxes. Every single year, the tokens that were staked will be freed. Only 10% of them will be freed and they will be possible to trade them. But otherwise, of course, you can use Liberland token as a currency. If it's not staked, if you don't pay taxes with it, you will be able to use it on any kind of platform. We're planning to launch on all these different platforms at the same time, and we are also planning to turn the cryptocurrency to be fully anonymous. So we don't have problems with other states when they would be trying to chase down Liberland taxpayers. And the starting price is 1 Liberland merit is $1, but this is something which we will not be able to influence once we will run out of these merits in the first round of financing. I already mentioned all the 3 token utilization, so it's basically a share in Liberland as well as Liberland currency, and it's also a way how to get citizenship. So far everybody that contributed more than 5,000 of merits, which is actually lower than regular golf fee for a year, got a citizenship. And I'm happy that we've got a couple hundreds of citizens, probably 600 people right now are citizens of Liberland out of that 500,000. And again, the main things how this system will work is that our plan is to acquire more and more land over the time, turn it into reasonable jurisdiction with reasonable governance, tremendously rise value of that land, turn it into very free place. And you can see that in places like Monaco, 1 square meter is how much? It's 100,000 euros per square meter. In places like Liberland right now, if you want to buy a piece of land, how much is 1 square meter? What do you think? It's less than $1, right? And see, the only difference between these 2 places is the way that the area is actually governed. There is no other difference. In one there is Prince of Monaco, which said there will be 0 income tax inside of Monaco. In Croatia or Serbia, the reason why the land is so cheap, because of course there is a very high VAT tax, there is very high income tax, there are hundreds of pages of regulations which are not in Monaco and other places. Of course, there are other elements, but that's the main business model behind Liberland. And we've got a great team of advisors, people that are leading the blockchain industry globally that are helping us to push this model forward. And some of the guys were actually on the board before. For example, Niklas Nikolaisen, he is the CEO of Bitcoin Swiss. We've got people that co-founded Aragon. I will talk about that. The chairman of Liberland Economic Council is founder of Universa. So we've got all these great blockchain leaders with us helping us to find the best governance system for Liberland. But that's not it. These Montevideo criteria are nice, but you really need to have some other elements of statehood. And you're drinking Liber beer, but you can be a real country unless you have a beer and an airline. It helps to have some kind of football team or some nuclear weapons, but at the very least, you need to have a beer. And I'm so happy that Liber Beer is a completely private venture. It's actually not this one. This was the first Liberland beer that bankrupted. It's no longer on a market, which is also a nice, healthy sign of Liberland economy. That was only working for first 3 months. Now we've got Liber Beer, and it's also a first brewery that will launch itself on blockchain using an ICO. So first brewery in the world that will be launching an ICO. And they didn't give me any tokens yet, so I'm completely independent. I'm just happy that there are Liberland companies being built in the space. They are also expanding globally. Now they form partnership with a Serbian brewery, another partnership with US brewery, and they are planning to expand into 40 countries abroad. We've got an airline, and that is something which you might want to use if you fly to Liberland. In the summer, there are some regular flights from Prague, and I think there was already a flight from Poland once in the previous summer. So it's a company, it's like an association of Liberland plane holders, but it's kind of cool that we have airline as well. And again, I didn't have nothing to do with the creation of Air Liberland, and I don't think that these guys actually have read the quote. And we've got also publishing. And Bogi, do we have the books here? Yes. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, we've got the Liberland publishing. And if you're really interested in what we are trying to achieve, there is a trilogy of books. It's also going to be published in Polish. And we found a guy that is completely in line with us in terms of the governance structure and in terms of pushing liberty forward. The guy is named Chas Holloway, and the book is called The Open Source Government Book 1, The End, The Fall of the Political Class. And it's pretty cool because it really explains you that there is so much ideological bullshit in terms of governance, but what really matters is to remove the coercion from the system, remove the state coercion from the system, and unleash the power of freedom, which we know it works. It works everywhere. Let me just give you a couple more examples. Hong Kong, Singapore, Liechtenstein. Of course, Liechtenstein is one of the most freest places on this planet, and it's also the wealthiest one. That's the way how you create value, if you let people do their business, if you don't meddle with it through state, through regulations, through taxation. But this is really good. I would say I wish I wrote that book. I wish I wrote that book. I didn't, but at least we've got Chas Holloway who put it nicely together, and by the way, you can buy it if you want from us after the lecture. And we've got a great amount of experts. We've got some 1,200 architects that have applied for citizenship. Some 85 of them have taken part in the Liberland architectural competition. So despite the fact it might take quite long before we can build in Liberland, and it will be just a side product of us really doing things right, we've got so many nice designs how Liberland can potentially look like by the top world architects. We had 83 architectural studios that applied for the architectural competition. I like this one. This was an idea to turn Liberland into a big golf course and just make these kind of crazy towers. But what do we know how the architecture will look like in a couple of years to come? This is from Harvard University, architectural plan. This is something which you can already find that is on our cadastral map deployed there. And the most important thing, of course, one of the most important things for the country is to have diplomatic relation with other countries. And we are working hard to have regular representative office in every single state on this earth. And very recently we have launched 100 representative offices. And of course, I cannot tell you, and I cannot name all the representatives, and I cannot even name all the places which are being opened, but this Wednesday we are opening officially our representative office in Belgrade. It's right in the center next to Hotel Moscow. So it's going to be a very nice event. This was kind of a pre-opening. And guess who is that guy? Jeff. Jeff Berwick, the same guy that was on the advisory team that you saw a couple minutes ago. So it was great. We had him with him, and we've got these great guys all the time with us. We are opening also a representative office in Prague. We've got great support. We've got 12 consulates in the United States pushing the Liberland idea with the Senate and Congress. And I'm very happy that we've got some good friends along the way. I already had a meeting, official meeting with the Palestinian government, with the Palestinian Minister for Regional Development. That was a nice meeting. And we've got great representatives. Let me just name two of them. Marketing expert and our representative in Canada, Ruth. And the last person that became our representative, he also works for Congo as a consul general So we've got somebody that is directly a diplomat and also helps us to get recognized, which is exciting. But we've got so many people, and if you're interested, you can of course download the brochure with full list and the bios of these people. We've got also copper printed brochures here. This was a high historic event, basically Liberland being first recognized by another state. We signed the Memorandum of Understanding with Somaliland. Maybe not everybody of you know where Somaliland is. So let me show you. It's right next to Somalia. This is Somalia, and this is Somaliland, right next to Gulf of Aden. There is Djibouti, Ethiopia. And it's a beautiful place, actually, in a way, and it's very stable, very safe. It's just not recognized by the rest of the world. So it was interesting to go there. I was actually the first president ever to visit Somaliland. So it was a big event in the local media. I hope we will launch a successful and long-lasting cooperation with this country. It's twice the size of UK, with 5 million people living there. This is our representative office in Somaliland. It's going to be a big business hub, I think, and a great diplomatic start for Liberland. And let me just give you a couple of examples which I found during my journey around the world, and I think I visited already something like 70 countries. A great example is how a private city is working. And whoever goes to Egypt, please. Have you ever been in Egypt? All right, 2, 3, 4 people, couple more people. You should visit El Gauna. You know, these other places, Sharm el-Sheikh, are pretty touristic. They are not that interesting as a completely private city built by Saveris family. There are only 2 policemen in a 20,000 people city. And these 2 policemen, they have nothing to do because the area is completely secure. It's not meant for tourists primarily, it's meant for people that want to live there. It's a beautiful city which is great to be in, completely different from all these touristic resorts. And it's working just fine. Not a single road was built by a government of Egypt. Not a single money were put into putting lights around the city. The whole thing is running completely without Egypt's intervention. And another interesting thing where I just came from is Honduras, a place where they are launching these ZD zones, a very interesting concept that could be the future of governance in the old states. So what they did, they made sure that you can actually start your own private city within Honduras jurisdiction, and this is something where you also, I'm just giving you this information, follow it, and maybe you will see that in a couple of years you will see a very prosperous society coming up from one of the most impoverished regions on the planet, from Honduras. And I've got a pretty cool thing. We've got more and more companies that are supporting Liberland, being either if they're from Liberland directly or they are outside of Liberland. One of them is Universa. They pledge 5% of their ICO for development of Liberland, which is nice because they fundraised $25 million, and that 5% is going to push us forward very neatly. And we just launched cooperation with CoinPay, which is a cryptocurrency payment portal and exchange. And there are more and more. We've got some 100 companies that are closely associated with Liberland. We also started a sort of a cooperation with Czech Chamber of Commerce, and I hope that we'll be able to form Liberland Czech Chamber of Commerce, and we will be able to form these chambers all around the world. Really help the companies to get on crypto, help them to release them from a high tax burden, maybe even move them to some places where the regulations are lower. This is also something interesting. We started a cooperation with Apatin Free Trade Zone, which is very close to Liberland. It's a Serbian free trade zone where you don't have to pay VAT, you don't have to pay import-export tax, you have a little bit less regulation. So I hope that, if you're looking into some place where to start your factory, that you will bring it to Liberland as close as possible. So this is our registration page. Right now we are running in beta. One of the guys here already started Liberland company, and of course it's a little bit difficult in the beginnings, but we have to push it through. This is the certificate that you will get. But there is one important message which I want to tell you before I end. The future of the nation states is completely decentralized. There will be not a single thing which the market or the centralized institutions could do better than nation states. And this is a great example. If you haven't heard about Aragon, they're just launching their beta product, which is you can actually find your company completely decentralized on Ethereum, including the way it's managed, including the way the money are managed, including launching its own token. And you don't need a state for that, because everything is on blockchain again. The whole governance structure is on blockchain. So I hope to form a partnership with these guys. We're already talking about it for quite a long, that they will be able to launch Liberland companies, and we will be able to incorporate on their system. But it's very interesting because you actually don't need any jurisdiction these days to launch a company. And I would like to invite you, because it's already happening in a month and something from now. We are getting a nice large venue in Liberland. It's going to be parked right next to our border on Danube River, so it will be pretty romantic. With support of Bitcoin.com, we are having a D10E conference, which is a leading conference on decentralization, on 13th of April, which will be our 3rd anniversary. And it will be very exciting because we've got the top world leaders in blockchain industry with us, and they will be speaking there. People like Brock Pierce, people like Mike Kostas are coming over to Liberland. So that's it from me. I hope to see you in Liberland sooner or later. And again, the book will be in Polish, but I suggest you read the original, and we've got a couple of copies here. So if you want to follow where we are going, what we are going through ideologically, I think this is the best start. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Okay.
Just wondering, so maybe you said I'm thinking it. How many people actually leave now?
No, the situation is still difficult with Croatia police, right? And this is why I gave you at the beginning, the Chicago Journal of International Law. Liberlanders are systematically being arrested and persecuted by Croatia. So it's very difficult to settle inside of Liberland, despite the fact that Croatia's borders are outside of Liberland. We have elevated the court case all the way to Constitutional Court in Croatia, and we didn't get response within the regular time framework, which is 1 year. So they missed the deadline to reply to our appeal. And the courts on the middle level already said that if Croatia wants to arrest people in Liberland, they have to strictly define the border first, which they are reluctant to do. So it's quite difficult now to stay in Liberland itself. I was there 20 times last year, but I know, and some people actually stayed overnight. We had different groups. It's a more of an adventure right now, because Croatia police was ordered to arrest anybody, be it Croatian or anybody else who comes to Liberland, which is a recognition in itself, right? And when I was in Israel a couple months ago, I was there, and there is a statue of all the people that got arrested when they were settling Israel. And it was also like 200 people first year, the similar number like in Liberland, right? And I'm just wondering, is there anybody who got arrested by Croatia police in this auditorium? Not yet? Not yet, okay. Come to Liberland, you know, you will have that nice bed and breakfast. The thing about that venue that I showed you is that it's based on Danube River. It's right next to Liberland, but they cannot do anything about it because we are protected by all these conventions that say that you cannot basically interfere with the ships that are on Danube River. So it's 100% safe, I can guarantee you that. But if you're coming to Liberland, it's a big adventure. Many people end up in jail, but the more people end up in jail, the stronger is our case, of course. Please.
Can you wait for a second?
Yeah. So you're not really recognized or unrecognized by international governments, yes?
Well,
and
you know, the fact that Serbia stated they don't mind recognition or existence of Liberland is also a sort of recognition. And in fact, we are actually pretty well recognized by most of the governments that we are talking to. But this recognition has really different levels. Like the final recognition is de jure. It's a situation when the two governments sit down and write to themselves that they recognize each other.
Yeah.
But if I'm actually already invited to some 5 states right now that issued us a letter, we are inviting officially President of Liberland to come and discuss some different issues with us. So in a way, I think we are basically de facto recognized by 5 or 6 countries right now, and we have de jure recognized Somaliland and recognized each other mutually.
I was just wondering if there is a theoretical threat that some other nation or micronation would claim the right for your territory.
I don't think there is a. It's not a threat right now. The situation with Croatia is that they don't want to claim this piece of land, and they are very strong about it. Croatia actually doesn't have too many options right now. They can either lose with Liberland or lose with Serbia, and they don't want to lose with Serbia in this situation. And of course, losing with Liberland is a great opportunity for them. It's probably one of the best opportunities that they will have in long run. Take a look how the areas around Hong Kong are looking like in China. Amazingly well-developed places. We are actually probably able to rise the GDP of Croatia by 1% every single year by the single fact that the business will be developed in Liberland. It can bring enormous amount of capital, and there is like $14 billion pledged from different people to develop the country. We could probably launch a mission to Mars with all the pledged money for the development of Liberland. And there are some real people that are pushing Liberland forward, that if they see something which can help us to move forward, they can do it. Roger Ver put aside $10 million for the first building in Liberland and first infrastructure. So there are real people backing it that want to do it. The only problem that we have right now is not that Croatia doesn't recognize us. The only problem with Liberland that we have right now, there is like 10 Croatian policemen that are running around the territory and are trying to arrest everybody who comes there. So, you know, you get my point, right? It's not about recognition, it's about being free from oppression. And this kind of oppression is kind of silly from Croatia, which just tries to arrest everybody. And even Croatian people that come to the territory are being arrested from the very beginning. All right?
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so.
This guy was first, so after that Vit, I would like to ask you about the ICO and whether are you not afraid that somebody would be able to take over, you know, the control over the Liberland?
No, I think that the model that we came up with is pretty smart, and that we are actually dissolving the control to taxpayers only with 10% of the overall control every single year. And that makes sure that we are going to decentralize in the governance over in 7 years or a little bit more maybe. But at the same time, we are going to keep enough control to push the idea forward. And even after Liberland government will lose the majority in number of shares in 7 years or a little bit more, the Liberland like core government will still have enough funds to actually run and push Liberland forward. So it could be overvoted basically by the other shareholders, but it will still have enough funding to really push Liberland forward, which I think is kind of cool. And the other thing is that we've got a system of double democracy. So the shareholders make the positive decisions, but the majority of people can veto it. And I think that's much better than a democracy, where the majority, whatever they say is basically the law. And sometimes it's very easy to manipulate majority of people. So this is another fundamental improvement with Liberland, that we are making sure that only the people that actually make the country possible, that put the energy into the creation of the country, are making the decisions. Not like in democracy where one guy who pays $20 million in taxes and the state doesn't even say thank you, right? Nobody is there to say thank you when you give state $20 million in taxes. Has the same right as the guy who just killed 20 people. It's a kind of a crazy system in which we are living in, and I think we need to fix the governance systems.
Who was the second person? Okay, sorry.
Hi, Vit. I'm gonna. Okay, so I have a stupid question, which I basically know the answer to, but someone asked me this, so I'm gonna pass it through.
Okay.
So why are you a president and not a king?
Well, it's not really popular to be king these days, but well, this is just because of the compatibility. It is necessary evil of the creation of a new country in this new era. But honestly, like, we are not building another republic. We are not building another kingdom. We're building a decentralized autonomous government, the first one to be created. And I think that's the future of the governance.
So we should have a new word.
I don't think there is necessity to build up a new word for it, but the system of governments is really a new structure, which I think will be much more efficient than the traditional structures. And it's actually combining the best elements of democracy, of kingdom, of monarchy, a republic, and corporation. Like you see there, we've got all the elements in our governance structure that were working the best. And honestly, like, people are making fun about kingdom, but what is Liechtenstein? It's a principality, right? It's the wealthiest place on the planet. What was Hong Kong? It was actually a corporation, right? Anyway, Singapore is a kind of a meritocracy. And we've got also merit, by the way, as the key token. So it's a meritocracy, kingdom in a way, a little bit of republic and a little bit of democracy. We just try to combine the elements that are out of the system working the best over in history.
Hello. Actually, I would like to ask, as you said, people can register companies there in Liberland, yeah? So I would like to ask under what constitutions those companies are being registered and what protects them, like if somebody opens up a company there. And at the same time, like, do you have any company register where all the companies are registered?
Yeah, we've got over 100 companies now registered in Liberland jurisdiction. It's in beta testing mode. So it's happening. We just needed to launch it. Who protects you when you build your company in Seychelles? Well, it should be kind of a Seychelles government, but honestly, nobody really protects you. It's your business. If you're going to bankrupt or make some bad business, nobody's going to protect you. And there is an incorporation law that was enacted half year ago in Liberland that you can read when you register the company. So there are some basic rules how to do that.
So are the registrations online, or how does it work?
It is. If you go to liberland.ltd, you can already register your company in Liberland.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, guys. Oh.
Hey, so I've been invited to D10E conference in April.
Awesome.
Does it mean that everyone who attends the conference will be arrested? That's the first question.
No. I told you. Actually, I told you not that the venue for the D10E conference is in safe place.
Okay.
But of course, if you want to visit Liberland, that's at your own risk.
And the second question, what's the best way to get there? Because I checked and it's like totally crazy to get there.
No, well,
by boat?
Like the most, but okay, to boat, we will arrange the ride from Serbia to Liberland from two places, from Bezdan and Apatin, so we don't have to worry about that. If you want to have really a fast way how to get there, there is a flight from Prague, which will be landing right next to Liberland on the field. But that will be organized by Air Liberland. I think that's a nice event. Like the most traditional way how people are getting to Liberland, to the area, is they just rent a car in Belgrade or Budapest and they drive for 2 hours.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Please?
Anyone else? Question?
I have a question regarding methodology of company management. Let's say I have an idea, a startup idea to connect with Liberland. So how will I be able to manage this company, to pay taxes, blah, blah, blah? Will it remind Estonian e-residence program, a card, a reader, and access to all requested instruments for company management?
Well, I told you that the future of governance of companies is with systems like Aragon 1, which is far superior to anything that Estonia can offer right now. But yes, we are developing a system of e-residency. So first you register on our website, and with that registration you can open up a company. And we're pretty much copying that model, but again, looking into ways how to dramatically improve it. And those models are decentralized and are based on Ethereum, basically.
Okay, there's another. May I ask one question before?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Vit. Is there any bank in the world that accepts Liberland companies to have an account there?
There is one bank in creation right now, which is founded by Liberlanders, and I'm looking forward that they will be able to do retail banking. It's a Goldman Bank, so it's kind of I don't know why they selected that name. I don't really like it that much. But there is one which plans to do the retail banking for Liberland, and we also have, but it's only for bigger companies, a solution, a bank that is based in Liechtenstein. So it is something when if you approach me, I will tell you the details about that one. But it's for bigger clients. And for example, the Coin Payments is a typical company that might use the services by this company. And I'm looking for more and more solutions. We will actually, on this D10E, we will have some great new banks that are coming to present how they can help Liberland to get the payment portals for credit cards, how to distribute credit cards to Liberlanders. So there'll be a lot of talk about this. It's the best time to come to talk about banking on this D10E. Please.
Excuse me, what is the difference between secularism and liberal? And why they don't have their own countries like liberals?
Excuse me once more?
Yes, what are the differences between secularisms and liberal people? And why they
secularism?
Yes, and why
well,
they
we
don't
are really not, we're secular in a way, right? But we don't really care what religions people have. We are just asking them if they respect religious beliefs of other people when they're applying for citizenship. We don't need any religious wars. We don't need, crazy Muslims or whatever, Muslim haters to come to Liberland and do this kind of stuff. When Liberland started, it was a big mess. On our main forum, we had like 20,000 people, and I think like 3,000 people were Jew haters, and other 5,000 were Muslims. So instead of like talking about the future of Liberland and the freedom, we had like a big racial religious war going on. And we really want to avoid that. It can happen on the forums, but not inside of Liberland. And what is the liberalism? Well, liberalism is a very much difficult word to define because it has different meanings in different parts of the world. Liberal in the United States means socialist, and I really hate to use that word because it has completely different meanings in different places, and we are still speaking English, right? So I really prefer, and this is again part of that book, to just look into more freedom, less freedom, more coercion, less coercion. Forget about all these completely misdefined terms that we are using in a political debate. Even right-wing and left-wing. It's a complete mess. Like, they're like, I studied political science, and I wrote a nice article about this, and I wrote my thesis about this, trying to clarify all the different ways people were defining left and right. So, for example, my favorite author, Frédéric Bastiat, and I really recommend you to read his book, The Law, because that put me on the journey of establishing Liberland. He wrote a very good book, which you could call classical liberal, right? He was a founder of that school, ideology of that school in general. He influenced a lot of people, but he was a member of parliament sitting on the left with socialists. So you had people that were against the king, and that were sitting on the left side of the spectrum, together with socialists, and then there were the right-wingers that were for king and for all of his draconic policies, and just keeping the things. So it's very, very confused the way we are defining these terms, and let's just stick, instead of these ideologies, let's just talk about less coercion, more coercion by the state, more freedom, less freedom. It's much easier.
Thank you.
So I have a question, another question. How I can buy a ticket for this flight to the conference?
Just contact Air Liberland, and they will be able to help you with that. So it's air/liberland.org.
Okay, thanks.
Or contact me, I will connect you.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
Awesome.
Are there any other questions? Oh,
One more.
Okay, sure.
Do you see a possibility to make a passport? So like internationally recognized documents?
Passport, of course, that's a good question. And it's actually recognized by a couple of countries already. You can even travel with it, but that's not no reason why we didn't make it for that reason. we made it that we have a document which our diplomats can use to legitimize. But you know, there is a visa in it already from a regular country. There is, of course, visa from Somaliland when we travel there. It's good to open your account with some of the crypto exchanges. It will be you will be asked to show that passport if you want to open a bank account with Liberland identity. So it already has some use, and it's one of the elements of statehood.
All right.
What's the current attitude of the Polish government towards Liberland?
You know, there was a big debate about that. Has anybody noticed that debate? The Cookies Party was pushing for recognition of Liberland pretty strongly for like 3-4 months. So there was a big exchange of that's pretty cool because we actually got to be officially noted in the Polish governmental documents. So they kind of said, you know, like Cookies was like, they are fulfilling all elements of statehood. Why don't we recognize them? We already recognize Kosovo and so many other countries which are partially recognized. Why don't we recognize? And like, no, we have to wait for the position of Croatia in this matter. So they're kind of stepping backward. They don't want to take direct responsibility, but the debate in Polish parliament was there and was pretty strong for a couple of months. And it's good that you mention it because, again, I would like to thank the Polish community, Polish Liberlanders, to pushing it this hard. We didn't have that many countries that would be openly debating it in parliament. There was a big debate in Croatian parliament. We've got also a couple members of Croatian parliament supportive of recognition of Liberland. So that was exciting to see that my speech was read in front of the Croatian parliament and to see the reaction of members and that there are members that are pushing for recognition. But of course, for recognition, you need majority vote in a Croatian parliament. And that's difficult. It's almost like winning the election in that country, right?
Okay, are there any other questions?
Cool. Thank you very much again.